Good evening. Would you please stand with me for the invocation and pledge of allegiance? This evening we have Mrs. Barb Dawson, who's going to lead us in prayer, please.
Okay, let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight thanking you and praising you for all the blessings you've given our community over the years. We feel fortunate to live in a place where the small town spirit is alive. As our council looks to make decisions for the future of our city, we ask that for your presence here tonight and to help direct the discussions and the decisions so that they go towards your will and what you want for the future of our city. I ask that you give our leaders wisdom. We know that wisdom comes from you, Lord, and that we only need to ask. Lord, I also want to pray for our first responders, our police, firefighters, and paramedics. Please watch over them, protect them as they keep us safe. I also pray for the protection over our leaders and citizens. May your spirit be present here tonight and guide the meeting. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Kim, would you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start our agenda this evening, we're going to do a special presentation. Councilman Elam, if you would come with me, please. Coaches, if you would come up with your players, we'd appreciate it.
Form line right there, guys. Ugly one's in the back. Yep, there we go.
I'll be in the back.
Yeah. All of you coaches in the back.
Officer Jones, did any of these athletes here fail the, did they fail the walkthrough on the machine?
All of them.
We're checking for base, or
Cell phones.
cell phones, of course. Huh.
Middle school, yep. Or they're still grade school. Elementary cell phones. There we go.
Well, this evening we have the Vienna Rec 3rd and 5th grade elementary basketball league champions. They had an undefeated record and won the championship this year. And with us, we have their two coaches. So, coaches, if you'd introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your team, and then we're going to recognize every one of them.
I'm Coach Varney. The kids played hard, come to practice really good, paid attention. I thought a lot of them had a lot of improvement, and they did a great job this season.
Coach Ben, and it was just a joy to see each one of them progress week by week, see them all get better, to go from some of them never played before to understanding the game of basketball. It's a thrill.
Mike, if you'd call the names out.
Oh gosh. All right.
It's on. Just
Here we go.
here, I'll do it this way. How about this?
All right. Coach Joey Barney.
Thank you, Bill.
Congratulations, sir. And Coach Ben Collins. Thank you, sir. Congratulations, bud. And here comes the stud players. Gavin Bowman. Bowman. I'll give you a handshake. There he is. Excuse me, Mr. Bowman.
What? You have to do over here. You're going to do this on my side. It'll be good. It is on.
Oh gosh, Xavier Bowman. Golly, Neds. Now I know why you give me the mic. That's why he knew. He studied these before. He knew he couldn't get them. Ella Collins. Yes. Congratulations, Ella. There we go. 1 for 1. Braley Cottrell. Oh, hey, don't let me hanging. There we go. And Caleb Gentry. Handshake. There we go. Congratulations, Caleb. Carson Gooch. Not in the house. All right. Carson Gooch. And Allie Harris. Did I say that right? Handshake. There we go. Congratulations. My assistant's having problems over here. All right, Carter Moorhead. Eli Park. Eli not in the house, all right. And next is Mr. Carmen Roush.
Cameron.
All right. And Cale Barney. Yeah,
I'll
not in
take
the
his.
house. Did they kids? They take Cale's. Take Carson.
I'll take the rest of them and give them to them.
Eli. Oh no. Miles where?
Miles.
Oh. All right. Congratulations. I know, no matter what, no matter what sport you play, you undefeated is quite passive. Congratulations.
Okay, we gotta stack them up in three
Yeah, it
rows here.
was.
I told
the
him.
practices,
I
it
told.
was quite the chore.
Point guards in the front.
3 rows.
Point
I
guards
told
in
him
front.
I can't.
Mike, where'd you go?
Oh, I gotta get in there.
Yep, on the other
Here,
plate.
Brandon, come over this way.
You tell us where you want them.
Right here.
That's what I do.
Yeah, there you go.
Mike on the other end?
But this one's not big enough.
I told them you.
There, Caleb, when you come up right here.
Yeah, that works.
You said
Okay,
There you go, Cameron. You
Everybody
come
turn
up.
around.
I know.
Here and back in front of me.
here we go.
He's saying.
Big on high.
Lance, go.
Sports Illustrated, this is the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Oh, no.
Everybody look, Xander, turn around, bud.
All right, family, you guys want to have that picture? You can.
Anybody want to take a look? All right, ladies and gentlemen, the 3rd and 5th grade Vienna Rec basketball champions. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you guys, appreciate that.
Thank you for your time.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Next time, give me a holler, tell me what the names are. He's okay. I was like 12 there. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Billy Counci. See you, Coach.
Mike, where'd you put the mic?
I think so.
Right here.
That's okay, as long as it's off.
Joey, where's Joey? Joey.
I'd like to call to order this regular session of the Vienna City Council for May the 13th, 2021. Our first item this evening is our public forum. We have 2 that have signed up to speak this evening. First will be Henry Sasson.
Is this on? Yeah, you can hear me. Henry Sasson, 1307 Greenmont Hills Drive here in Vienna. I got a couple things. Number one is for those people that were involved with the PHS swim team for the fundraiser this past Saturday in front of Rhododendron Club, thank you. That's one of the fundraisers that the PHS swim team does. Number two is another fundraiser that they do is they sell 250 raffle tickets for 2 season tickets to a WVU football game, $20 a piece. So if you're interested, see me after this meeting. Item number 3 is a meeting prior to the last one. They were talking about the Jackson Pool and some of the changes and stuff that were being talked about. I talked with Coach Emily and Diane Cunningham and informed them of that. So as changes happen, to make sure that it's flexible enough to be able to host various events, they're willing to talk with people, so please involve them. So that was my third item. Number 4, I have 2 teenage kids. They're 16. I'm teaching them to drive, so I don't know what's more stressful, work or teaching them to drive. But as I'm teaching them to drive, I've been taking them through the streets of Vienna and going through. I'll show you a couple examples. I think that'll work. Or how do you zoom this thing?
It's on the side, I think.
Here.
That's it.
This is up in Woodland Heights. This is a properly positioned stop sign, okay? You can see it, not obstructed. Believe it or not, there's a stop sign there. It's about right here. And that's at the top of 28th Street when you go up into Woodland Heights. So you go clear up to the top, you make the right, you wind up through, and there should be a stop sign there. I know it, a lot of people know it, but kids that are learning, they don't know it. And what do I mean? You can see the stop sign piece right here from at an angle. And this is looking at Ashwood Drive going this way. This is 23rd Street, or 28th Street coming up in. And then when you look at it from the backside, you can actually make it out as you're coming off of here, heading back down 28th Street. So, is there a way the city can address that? That way there's no accident there?
Yeah, if it's the one I'm thinking of, Henry, we'll get it taken care of tomorrow, but that gentleman that lives there is extremely proud of all of his vegetation, okay?
I understand that.
Yeah, but, I mean, if it's blocked as badly as you show it is, then we'll get it turned back.
But if you go through, you know it, I know it, everybody that drives the streets, but for new kids that are learning, and I don't take them on familiar streets because that's a habit you don't want to get into. You want to constantly look and pay attention. And when they pulled up there and they were going through it, I told her, hurry up, hit the brake, hit the brake. And then I showed them the stop sign. That's why I said it's important that you always look. So I appreciate it.
Okay.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Next is Brenda Powell.
Good evening. My name is Brenda Powell. I live at 1409 31st Street in Vienna. I just had a couple things that I wanted to mention. One of them, well, I think a couple of them might be here on the, a couple of them are here on the agenda. One is about the Senior Center Heating and HVAC units. I guess that, so at the Budget and Finance meeting, there's 3 units actually in that building, in the senior building, and one of them is needing to be replaced because it's bad. And I know that there's a question on whether or not, you know, as far as just replacing all 3 of them. The reason why I bring this up is because I was curious to know if there's a possibility that you could think about, or if it's even possible, I'm not sure, to get an outside air conditioning heating unit that actually sits outside of the building that would be large enough to be able to handle the whole building, instead of getting into replacing 3 different units, just have one large unit. The other thing is that if the other 2 units are still in good condition, it was my thought of seeing how maybe there might be a possibility they could be sold, you know, in an auction or something of that sort, so that the city would get some of the money back for those units. So that was one thing that I had. The other thing was about security cameras. I wanted to bring up about the Spencer's Landing. There has been a lot of interest with the river traffic. I was wondering if there was a possibility when the cameras are placed wherever, if that area could be considered for a camera that actually would be designated to see the river traffic. A lot of people like to watch online and watch the traffic as far as the boats, the barges and things of that sort. So they enjoy that. And I thought maybe I would bring that to your attention, that maybe at some point in time you could do that. I have some other ideas on things that I'd like to share at some point in time after the master plan comes out and what it's going to entail, if it's not already something, the things that I have, like 3 different things that I'd like to bring before council that maybe might be an interest to the city that they might want to consider. So I'll bring that up later on after we know what's going to be going on with that. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Let the record reflect that I've taken roll, that all members of council are present. Having a quorum, we will proceed. The minutes from the May 6, 2021 special council meeting have been printed, posted, and circulated. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If there are no objections, and the minutes will stand approved as posted. Councilman Leach, report of the treasurer, please.
Reconciliation of funds for City of Vienna dated May 10th, 2021. I've reviewed the accounts and the associated attachments. The accounts appear to be in order and the city is signed.
All right. Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question about the reconciliation of funds. Just a curiosity, I noticed that the McDonough fund is up about $1,500, so I was just curious of where that money came from.
You're gonna have to give me those questions in advance.
Okay.
You know.
Okay, well, we'll have another question. Maybe you'll know the answer to this. Have we
Wait a
received
minute,
that?
hold on, Kim.
Okay.
Jim, if you look at the bottom of the page, the last amount was $1,722, and the amount today is $1,722. Where do you see the difference?
From April, from last month. It's up about $1,500. So I was just curious if something,
So it was on reconciliation for April, but it reflected March.
no, in April, it was, $1,500 less than it
Okay,
is now.
that's fine.
in
Mr.
May.
Leach, would you look into that, please?
And so my other question was that the first tranche of money that's supposed to be coming from the American Recovery Plan, has that been deposited yet, or when do we anticipate that we're going to get that money?
It has not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So this evening, we have no unfinished business. The first item on our agenda this evening is the approval of the master plan for the parks contract. The engineering firm that the Parks Department had brought in was the CEC engineering firm. And they made the presentation. Mr. Black has talked at length about that. The cost for the master plan is $18,550. It is from the general fund. It has already been in the budget, so this is not new money. This is simply an allocation. Mr. Leach, I'm stepping on your toes. I apologize for that. Is there anything that you'd like to add to that, sir?
No, Mayor, in fact, I was sent an email about the $1,500, so.
Okay, all right.
Change out there for a second.
There we go. All right, so I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the master plan for the Parks Department and the expenditure of $18,550 to get that done.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the master plan proposal. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the master plan for the parks, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Second item on our agenda this evening is a bid approval for the steel structure for the Trek Vienna project. Councilman Leach.
Sealed bids for the purchase of the steel structure for the Trek Vienna project were opened on Friday, April 16, 2021 at 10 a.m. with the following results. Sparks at play, $14,565. After careful review of the bid proposals, the recommendation for council approval from the Budget and Finance Committee for the purchase of the steel structure for the Trek Vienna project is Sparks at play, $14,565. Funding from this project will come from the city's general fund, account number 67068.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the sealed bid from Sparks at Play in the amount of $14,565.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the sealed bid for the purchase of the steel structure for the Trek Vienna project. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the bid from Sparks at Play in the amount of $14,565, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving right along this evening, we have a bid approval for the playground piece. Councilman Leach.
Sealed bids for the purchase of a large custom playground piece were open on Friday, April 23rd, 2021 at 10 a.m. with the following results. Davis Athletics, $48,736. After careful review of the bid proposals, the recommendation for council approval from the Budget and Finance Committee for the purchase of a large custom playground piece is Davis Athletics, $48,736. Partial funding for this project is budgeted in the city's general fund, $541,6558, with the remainder coming from a donation from the Spartan Foundation. And for those that you haven't seen it, it's hard to see from here, but it's very cool.
I'll take it up there and put it on there if you want.
Yeah, that's worth taking a look at. Thank you, guys.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the sealed bid from Davis Athletics for $48,736 for the custom playground piece.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the bid from Davis Athletics for $48,736. Is there any further discussion?
I have a couple questions about that. Does this include installation?
Yes.
Okay. And then I just was tracing back to that line item, 541-6558, and we're already over budget on that particular line item, and so I think I attended the Budget and Finance Committee meeting, and I think Mr. Black said the money was funded earlier from a prior revision, so can you walk me through that? Because I'm not clear on how this works.
Well, I can take you through part of it, Kim.
Okay.
The Spartan Foundation approached the city and was willing to commit up to $35,000 for this project. I don't have an answer. Mr. Leach may remember, or Mrs. Elam may remember Mr. Black's comments, but I'm sorry, I do not.
Okay. I mean, I think it's a fantastic project. I love it. I'm just trying to figure out how the money works on it.
Yeah, I don't recall how Steve explained it.
I don't either.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
But-
Kim, these items are on the agenda. If you have a question about that, if you'll send it in advance.
Yeah.
Because I can't anticipate what you're gonna ask about, so.
Well, when I review it in the afternoon, and we're
I get
here,
that,
and I
yeah. like
like the questions to be in public, so that
Well, I like the answers to be prepared, so that would be my point.
Mr. Black's not with us this evening. I do know that the funding for this project has been accounted for because this is also part of the other part of the project for the Spartan Foundation where we're doing the pickleball courts. And so we as a council had to commit the money. And if you recall, back when we voted on this, in order to get the funding from the Spartan Foundation, we voted to pay our share. And so the money's already been allocated. I just don't know what line item they're taking it from,
okay.
but I'm sure Mr. Leach can make a quick question or a quick question to Amy and get that answer. It's already been, we as a council voted to do that.
Right, I'm sure
But I
we
just
did.
don't know what line item from.
I'm not, that's not my issue. I just was curious of where it came from because that particular line item is over, just when I look at stuff, it's over budget it's double. So I just wanted to know where it was coming from. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the bid from Davis Athletics in the amount of $48,736, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The next item this evening is an internal budget revision number 3. Mr. Leach.
Internal budget revision number 3 has a total of 5 departments. First is the police department, and they want to transfer money for the cost of equipment repairs from $455.11 in the amount of $3,000 to $455.16 maintenance and repairs for building and grounds. Second line item, fire department, budget shortfall and phone costs, transfer from utilities of $1,000 to telephone and $511. Third, internal budget revision, data processing, want to transfer government from 43922 from dues and subscription to cover materials to run fiber to the senior center from the Seeger system, in the amount of $3,200, transferring that to 43941. The Parks Department, they want to transfer from 54016 maintenance and repairs equipment to cover shortfall, also $5,000, also $5,000 from 54017 maintenance and repairs autos to 54041 materials and supplies in the total amount of $10,000. Final, under recreation, 54115 maintenance and repair building and grounds to cover expected budget shortfall from that account to 54141 in the amount of $10,000. And Steve did address those issues in the Budget and Finance Committee meeting and the reason therefore.
And this is an internal budget revision. There is no money, no new money being spent. This is simply realigning the accounts in these particular line items. So I'll entertain a motion for the approval of internal budget revision number 3.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve internal budget revision number 3. Is there any further discussion?
I have a question. So I'm confused about telephone. And the reason I'm confused about it is, well, I see that the fire department needs $1,000 because they're short on the telephone line item. But what, I'm sorry, the police budget, there's like $12,000 so far they've used on telephone. I guess I'm under the understanding that some of those, the cost of telephone was supposed to go down once we switched over to this new system. So I'm just curious of why we have such huge telephone bills.
Okay, for the police department, each one of the officers carries a personal cell phone.
Okay,
And so we reimburse them for the usage of their phones. That's the way they communicate nowadays. The old days of the
right.
handheld mics and all that. And so, there's 20 officers there, and that's the expense. We reimburse them for the telephone usage.
So is that the same for the fire department?
Part of it, yes.
Okay.
Okay, but the in-house office phones, which is the new system, has nothing to do with the officers and their personal cell phones.
Okay, so this is cell phones then?
I believe so.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of internal budget revision number 3, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries. Item number 5 is a general fund budget revision. Mr. Leach.
The general fund budget revision number 5 is transfer from the Parks Department contract services, moving money to the pool to pay for pool maintenance projects in the amount of $20,000, transferred to 54215, maintenance and repair building and grounds for the pool.
And these are for the plumbing repairs that need to be made for the maintenance of this year. Okay. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of general fund budget revision number 5.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve general fund budget revision number 5. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 6 this evening is a list of the items for auction. We did extremely well with the auction of the equipment and vehicles that we put on Gov Deals. Mr. Leach, I know you're probably the resident expert on the Gov Deals situation. Were you happy with the way that turned out?
Yeah, I mean, it's an excellent, used cars are in demand everywhere. You hear even radio commercials saying dealers saying we'll buy your car. So it's an opportune time. They're going for premium prices, and that was reflected in the outcome of this sale.
So we had a couple items. The 2006 Dodge Charger that is on the list this evening, it was designated with a reserve on it that it could only be sold to a police department. Unfortunately, no one bid on that item. And so Chief Pfeiffer has put it back on the list and removed the police department restriction. The 2000 Volvo that is listed on the list is a 10-ton dump truck that we currently and have not had anyone that has the proper CDL credentials to drive this. So it is a nice truck, but it is useless sitting up there, so we're going to put the Volvo up for auction. Hopefully it'll bring some decent money and we can get a automatic instead of this one as a standard. So the 2003 Dodge Durango, it is listed in here also. The next item on our agenda this evening is a resolution approving the sale of this item to the city of Williamstown. In the last auction that we had, we sold a 2005 Dodge Durango with similar condition for $23,000 at auction. The city of Williamstown is in need of a vehicle. This one is 2 years older than the one we sold, and they have offered to buy this from us for the amount of $2,000. And so we're going to ask for approval for the auction, but the resolution that we'll deal with in a minute actually will be with the sale of this vehicle to the city of Williamstown. The last item is a 1998 Dodge Dakota. It's just another truck that we have that we need to get out of the rotation. So I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the 4 auction items to be listed on Gov Deals to be put up for auction.
I'm sorry, Mayor, would it be 4 or 3, depending on the resolution? Is that how we need to do that?
Yes,
4 now?
because if the council doesn't approve the sale of the vehicle to Williamstown, then it will stay in the rotation. We'll sell it at auction and, go with that. Is that okay, Russ?
That's fine, as long as everybody understands that's how it's gonna work.
Yeah, the Durango is gonna be pulled with the next item on our agenda, and we will remove it from the auction list and then just sell it directly to Williamstown. All right, is everybody good with that?
Sorry, second, yes.
Second? All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the list of items for auction. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then I'll
Well,
call.
I-
Okay,
You
I'm sorry.
can go first. I've been speaking a lot tonight.
Tim, if you're gonna do that, you gotta raise your hand or something. I didn't see it. I apologize.
I'm down here in the kiddie table. It's hard to see. I understand.
Hey, you know what? We get one more month out of this thing. We'll put you back up at the
I
big table.
appreciate that. I'm completely vaccinated, so I feel
So
very
am I.
confident to sit up there.
Yep. Go. Who's first? Go.
Okay, so I was gonna ask, so I was at the Budget and Finance Committee the other day, obviously, and, I was under the impression that, we just didn't have anybody that could drive a stick shift, but apparently it's a different kind of CDL certification, whatever kind of dump truck this is, the Volvo. If we could compare how much we would get for it versus, is it still a useful vehicle to us if we had somebody that could drive it? If it is, how much would it be to get somebody certified to drive it? Because it kind of seems like if we have a decent vehicle and we just need somebody with a good license, would it be better to pay the, $1,000 or whatever it is to get somebody certified as opposed to having to buy a new dump truck later on down the road?
It's not expensive to get the CDL standard certification. The problem with this is it is a very large dump truck that when you load that thing out, Jim, I don't remember, what is it, 38,000 pounds? I mean, it's a
13, so yeah, total load.
yeah, so it is a very large dump truck, and the problem with this is the employees that we have now are not comfortable driving a standard with that kind of weight behind it. All right, so what you would literally have to do would be hire a new employee to drive that truck only. For years, Norm Harris drove that truck when it was in the Parks Department, okay? And when Norm left, we switched it over to the Public Works Department. It's just not being utilized. The truck's 21 years old now. We're not gonna be able to leave that thing sit around and just wear on it. But, we just do not have anyone that would be comfortable driving that truck. If you can imagine what it would be like to have 35,000 pounds and try to go up a very steep hill when you're not very used to driving a standard, it's a hazardous situation. I would not be in favor of that at all.
So in essence then, what we're saying, how long has it been since Norm was here, right, that we haven't used it?
I don't know.
So essentially, we don't have a need for a dump truck this big, or do we? If we do, then maybe we, I don't know, hang on to it or do the certification. But if we've made it this long and literally do not have a need for a truck this big, then I see getting rid of it, because it's like, you know, are we moving, you know, I don't know. So, I was gonna say hillside, but, sorry.
No, we're not.
Now, a couple things, you know, a couple points I'd make on this, and Craig talked about this at the budget finance meeting. You know, this is a 24 valve Volvo with 83,000 miles on it, pretty old truck still. And in addition to, you know, if you've ever tried to hold a clutch on a hill, you know, with a load on, you have to have some experience to do that. I think Craig and maybe one other employee are, you know, and it's not just the cost of the recertifying on a manual to get the CDL. You have to test for it, you gotta get a permit for it, and go through all of that as well. But really, kind of the other thing is, just like we're talking about with these other vehicles, this truck's probably gonna bring a premium. We're talking about, you know, putting a minimum of $20,000 on the bid, and it's a good time, probably, if we wanna max the value. And then what we need in the future in terms of, do we need to replace this dump truck or not, obviously, would have to come up as a different discussion. But I think, you know, so I'd add to the fact that, like I said, it's old school.
And I'm not familiar with the fleet enough. I mean, what else do we have in comparison to it? Do we have some other large trucks that are kind of doing the job for
I
it?
think we have 5 dump trucks, is my recollection. Those are automatics. They're, you know, so I don't know that, you know, what the demand would be to replace this. But between the difficulty in operating it and the premium price we can probably get now, and it has, because it doesn't have the emission stuff on it either. So, you know, there are gonna be companies that's gonna be attractive to, the mileage is attractive. So it might be just, you know, again, an opportune time to get the best money out of it. You know, if it doesn't meet the minimum. And I agree, I think it's worth at least 20.
Some of the trucks in the fleet are Hino trucks.
Yes.
Which if you talk to the fellows that operate those and drive them, in comparison to this one we're addressing here tonight, they'll tell you that there's no difference as far as visibility, safety, and ease of driving, plus maneuverability around on the city streets. I would venture to say that there's probably places in this city that could not get this Volvo truck.
It's kind of a beast.
So I have some concerns about this as well. And if I understand this correctly, we could put something on the Gov bids or whatever, the online auction site, whenever. So since we have some questions, and I'm concerned about, are we gonna have to replace this and spend $150,000, $160,000, whatever it is to get a new truck, that maybe we don't put this on the resolution tonight and just do the 3 cars that were mentioned in the agenda, and just kind of take that off and consider it, and we can come back next time or after that or whatever when we have some more answers.
Okay, I mean, I can tell you from a utility standpoint, this truck will not be driven. If we don't put it up for auction, that's fine. But it will sit right up there at 60th Street because no one will drive that truck.
I'm not saying not to put it up for auction. I'm just saying this
Well,
was.
what are the questions that need to be answered? We have a piece of equipment that we're not utilizing. If it sits 6 months, it's not gonna change. It's just one of those things. This truck is in our fleet, but it is not being utilized.
Well, wish Mr. Metz was here tonight so we can ask him what the plan is if we're gonna replace the truck. Do we know that?
Obviously, these trucks wear out because you haul gravel and stone and everything else in them. So at some point, we'll wear the Hinos out and what have you, so it will have to be replaced. But the truck has been sitting for an extended period of time. It is not being used. That is the reason why that we put it up in this list. But whether it goes to auction or it doesn't, that truck is still not going to be driven.
Okay.
Tom?
I can speak to personal experience out of 35 International. I was in a parade coming up 13th Street Hill.
Better speak in your mic, Tom.
I'm sorry. And it is very difficult to drive a standard shift vehicle, particularly that large. And it may be too big to be practical to drive around the city of Vienna. Is it or isn't it?
It is, Tom. It's big, but the last time we used it, was when Norm was here on a regular basis, and we would go up into Pennsylvania to haul salt. We had a deal where we would go pick the salt up because it was cheaper to buy it by the ton. Obviously, the bigger truck you have there, the more salt you can haul. But like I say, I mean, if we had a guesstimate of how many miles have been put on that truck in the last 5 years, and almost none. And I can tell you, I'm serious. If we don't auction it, that's fine. But I can guarantee you that truck's going to be sitting right where it's at because no one's going to drive that truck.
And that for me, it's less about nobody wanting to drive it and more about, do we have a utility for it still? I mean, is it still useful to what we do on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis here for the city? If we have gone that long without using it, then it sounds like we don't need it anymore. So I think we got hung up, at least, initially, I think it was kind of presented that nobody can drive it, so we need to get rid of it. And that's why I was kind of questioning, well, then maybe we just need to get somebody a license and go practice and go drive it. But if we're not using it and we don't need it, then I'm okay with that. And then, obviously, whatever, and in a sense then, whenever we are needing to replace other vehicles, we're not replacing this one because we're not using it anyway. We would be replacing one of the other old ones. Is that right? Am I getting it right?
Yes, and it is a safety item. It has nothing to do with the versatility of the truck or the capacity. It is a safety issue, okay?
It was all over TV today about the shortage of used vehicles. And this might be the opportune time to sell it, like it's the opportune time to sell a house, because there ain't no houses for sale.
It's got a lot of usable life left in it, but in our fleet with our departments, the parks and public works both share trucks back and forth. It's a waste to leave that good truck sit there. Any further discussion? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion for it's been moved and seconded that we approve the list of auction items to include a 2006 Dodge Charger, the 2000 Volvo, the 1998 Dodge Dakota Sport, and the 2003 Dodge Durango will be pulled from the auction list if the resolution is approved to sell it to the city of Williamstown. All right, everybody clear on that? Okay, all right. Then I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. The next item is a resolution to approve the sale of a 2003 Dodge Durango to the city of Williamstown, West Virginia, a municipal corporation. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that the mayor and/or his designee is hereby authorized to sell to the city of Williamstown, West Virginia, a municipal subdivision as per West Virginia Code 8-12-18A, a 2003 Dodge Durango, VIN number 1D4HS38N23F554174. Said vehicle to be used by the city of Williamstown for a public purpose for the sum of $2,000. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution to sell the 2003 Dodge Durango to the city of Williamstown. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the resolution to sell the 2003 Dodge Durango to the city of Williamstown, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. The next item is a resolution to increase the hourly wage of the police department part-time receptionist. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that the hourly rate for the position of police department part-time receptionist is hereby increased to $11 per hour. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution to increase the salary of the part-time receptionist.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution to increase the hourly wage. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the resolution to increase the hourly wage of the police department part-time receptionist, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. The next item on our agenda is to increase the hourly rate for all full-time city employees. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that the hourly rate for all full-time City of Vienna employees, with the exception of the Vienna Police Department law enforcement officers, as budgeted, is hereby increased by 65 cents an hour, effective the first day of July 2021. This is the budgeted amount that was included in this year's budget. I'll entertain a motion for the resolution to approve the increase in the hourly rate for all full-time city employees.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution to increase the hourly rate for all full-time city employees. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the resolution to increase the hourly rate for all full-time city employees, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. The next item on our agenda this evening is simply a discussion item. The Senior Center Heating and Air Conditioning. The recommendation, Mr. Leach, would you take us through the recommendation for Budget and Finance?
Yeah, the recommendation is to solicit bids. And there's quite a discussion about this in Budget and Finance. There's 3 units there that service the building. The one that's kind of the hardest to get to has failed, and the others are 18 years old. And so, you know, there's a lifespan to that HVAC equipment. What we're talking about is, the discussion is, do we fix one? If we're in there and with that age, do we fix 3? You know, it was mentioned both in Budget and Finance and tonight. You know, the units that come out that are functional would have some value. Again, if we approve to sell them on gov deals, somebody come take them away for us and we get some value. I mean, obviously it's not gonna be a lot. I think that it's $10,000 a unit, as I recall, is generally the amount that's being discussed, 30,000 total for all 3. So that's what I understand to be the issue under discussion. And whether, you know, we'd also talked about some different technology. You know, Brendan mentioned, is there an outside unit? There's now mini split technology. You got kind of zones in the building, but you know, we're basically, and the other option, of course, is just to get it done and stay with the existing ductwork, the existing climate control in the building. And so those are the issues as I understand them.
That is correct. And this is not an action item tonight. We are going to bid it out both ways, single replacement or replacing all 3 units, with the option of some of the split units maybe as for like the reception area out front. And but at any rate, it will come back to council once the bid has been sent out and determined. So it'll come back for that. So we'll have a chance to look at it both ways.
And the only thing I would add to that in terms of what we mentioned and we talked about in Budget and Finance, and I don't know this for certain, but if all we've asked the vendors to do is come in and take a look at replacing the existing units, you know, these guys do HVAC design, things have changed, perhaps in the bid spec, maybe we have I don't know, you know, a bid meeting or something so they can come in and evaluate the building and say, you know, this is what you asked for, but now if you ask for our opinion or advice, you might consider some other type of configuration in the building that would better serve our needs, both from the standpoint of economics and also, you know, because if it's in zones and there's parts of the building that aren't being used, then obviously they don't need to be climate controlled. So, and I don't know what the solution to that would be, but exploring all those options, why we have this in front of us, might make some sense.
Yeah, I agree. If we can word it somehow in the bid specs that, you know, we want you to come evaluate what we've got, make sure that we're getting, again, it's not saying, hey, I just need to replace this. Is this the best thing?
What are our options?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've had 4 heating and air conditioning contractors look at it to date. Every one of them has visited the site, seen what the situation is with the firewalls, the co-join system that's up there. And so I think that there's a lot of input going into this, so I think we will get some suggestions. But at any rate, we'll work on the bid specs to make sure that we get the most efficient replacement up there, okay? So it'll come back for council consideration once the bids are back.
One other point that was made at Budget and Finance was the discussion about, by Amy, that because the senior center's been closed down, we've generated some additional funds that could be used to take this opportunity. And so that's just one other thing that came up in the discussion.
Yes, it's anticipated that there's enough money in the budget that will simply be a budget revision and not new financing or new funding source. So we should be able to use the money that you've already allocated to that department. So, but
Are you saying to create a proposal that says, give us a price on what it would cost to replace it, give us a price on what it would cost to repair it or get it to set it to code, utilizing 80% or some percentage of the infrastructure or something like that?
I'm not as familiar with how those procedures work. I know that if I was trying to do this job, and we've had 4 vendors come in, before we write the bid spec, you know, we say, you got any better ideas, and then use that input to inform the bid spec that we draw if we decide that, you know, because if all 4 of them come back and say, look, you know, you have an option now to improve the situation, given with everything with merit, and I don't know that that would be the case at all, because that existing structure, so.
well, there's been a couple of those things that have been added into it already. The new technology to kill the germs in the air for the COVID protection, that was something that was added. We don't have that now. The other technology was the new thermostats, you know, that you control off of your telephone, and that way you can adjust the heat or air conditioning up and down very easily. Those were 2 items that were added that are not there now. I know that the bid spec, as I've read, part of it is 90% efficiency. That's standard now for heating and air conditioning units. The issue that's there, you know, as Jim said, it's an 18-year-old bank of heating and air conditioning units. And the one that went bad is the last one back, which means that they're going to have to disassemble the one that's in there, carry it out in pieces, and then disassemble the new one and put it back in there in pieces. So it's a difficult installation simply because it's in a closet and it's not a very big space. But at any rate, I'll take all that into consideration, and we'll see what kind of suggestions we get from the experts, because I'm certainly not an expert in heating and air conditioning. Okay? All right, so it'll come back to council, all right? The next item on our agenda this evening is item number 11. That was a discussion on code enforcement and the building inspection employment update. Before we go into that discussion, I would like to request an executive session to discuss an employee matter.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we go into executive session to discuss an employee matter. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor of going into executive session, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimous. If you all would join me in the conference room, please.
Civic Center's on the roll.
June 20th.
It's that Little Caesars commercial.
Yeah.
There's one roll.
But no, that's true.
It's like-
Yeah,
it's like they left my clothes on.
I'm surprised that, what's his name, the Fauci dude didn't say, oh, no, not one mask, you need 12.
Plus,
You
plus a shield.
You need 12 masks,
I
a
would
shield.
recognize that laugh anyway, that's Russell Wooten. Is that Russell Wooten right there? Brent from Big River.
We don't know each other because of masks.
Right.
See, these things,
Well, it was your laugh. I thought, well, I thought it's the eyes. Sometimes you recognize the eyes, and then you laugh, and I was like, oh no, that's Russell.
see, these masks have killed me because I'm hard of hearing. I can't hear mid-range. I need to read lips.
I have a brother like that.
So,
Yeah.
I was born
Yeah.
mid-range deaf.
Yeah.
I can hear highs, I can hear lows, but you get in a crowd of people where everybody's talking, it's just noise.
My brother was born, hard of hearing,
Mhm.
and he relied on reading lips.
Yeah.
So he's really had a hard time.
Yeah, and I'm like, people are talking to me, I'm like, I can't hear you.
Yeah.
I can't hear, and I don't know sign language, so this is,
I know, yeah, like, don't
what is
hear.
it, this is,
You put hearing aids in.
they all it does is amplify.
and there they go.
You put hearing aids in and it just amplifies the noise to me.
They make, the masks are not compatible with, taking their mask off, there goes your hearing aid.
Yeah.
Well, we've only got another, what, 5 weeks? Yeah. Let's hope so. Yeah. We hope. Yeah.
I've known people that have gotten the shot. Both spouses got it,
Yeah.
one passed,
Oh, no.
both were in the ICU. I mean, so it's a lot of guarantee.
Right, yeah, no, I've been fully vaccinated. I still wear this.
That's why
I have not got the vaccine. My wife's a doctor and she says we won't get it, so I do what she says. I'm a smart man. So
Hey,
I won't get it. I have not got it. I've been around 7 people that have had it in close contact and I've never contrasted it. I don't have
those
any
of us that got
antibodies.
the shot may end up growing tails in 4 or 5 years.
Maybe.
Messing with your RNA, not your DNA.
Hell, in 5 years, we might have a bunch of superheroes running around.
X-Men.
Yeah. Where's Xavier?
Right.
Let's
He
just
needs
hope
to
it's
open
a
up the
useful
mutant school.
superpower.
That's true.
But yeah, no, but then again, I mean, I saw a thing on YouTube where this lady was putting gasoline in a freaking Walmart bag. And put it in like 5 different bags and put it in her trunk. So somebody's gonna screw this up for everybody. I'm telling you.
They had the.
No, I'm serious.
They had pictures of people putting gasoline in
The
those
storage
5-gallon buckets.
And big
That must be from Logan.
like, do you guys realize that gas eats plastic? I mean,
Yeah.
it
But that's gas and styrofoam makes, what was the stuff they used to do?
Oh, gas.
oh, napalm.
Napalm.
Yes.
Gas and styrofoam makes napalm.
Yeah, but you put gasoline into a styrofoam cup and disintegrates.
Right.
Because it's a solid.
Right.
And styrofoam is all part of the whole family.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and then also, you know, I mean, you also have the laws of motion. You do get it to where it's tied up and it's not leaking while it's sitting up. And then you hit your brakes, it's gonna roll.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna have gas all over the trunk of their car. They're gonna waste all that
If you
money.
go very far, you're lucky if a 5-gallon can doesn't swap. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I don't know what this world has come to.
It all goes back to, the rush on groceries or whatever, anytime there's like if somebody hears it's gonna snow, or the COVID thing, toilet paper disappeared, it's just, people get it in their head that they're not gonna get what they need to get, and it's
It's like when the toilet tissue disappeared
Yeah,
because of
exactly.
COVID. I'm like, okay, how's that
I
related to
just
COVID?
can't fathom why
Oh,
somebody.
because everybody figures if something happens, I'll
See, I eat it rare, so I don't even have to cook it. I'll just cut it off and eat it.
As you learn to eat them, you do.
What's that?
Skunks. Good. I grew up in the country.
That's one thing I've never eaten. I've eaten possum.
And I've seen more game in my yard than I ever saw
Huh?
growing up.
Raccoon and possum, greasy.
I've eaten, well, the key to eating a possum is you have to purify it. You have to capture it and feed it nothing but greens for like 6 weeks. I'm serious. And then, once you purify it.
Yeah, 'cause they eat it anyway.
Well, when you grow up in the way in the sticks in South Carolina and with no money, you learn to eat all kinds of stuff.
What part of Carolina was it?
I grew up in Charleston, but I spent a lot of my poor years in this little tiny town called Rondo, which is it's in between Walterboro and Cottageville.
In South Carolina?
Mhm.
South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina. That's where I was born and raised.
You may think what's weird is when I was in Hong Kong, this family invited me to dinner, and they made soup. It was a fish soup, and the fish that they used was carp. You would have never known it was carp.
Depends on what water.
They raised, it was raised carp in clear, clean water and stuff.
Yeah.
They didn't, I'm like, holy smokes.
Well, that's like farm-raised catfish. I mean, farm-raised catfish is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I have to say, I grew up in South Carolina, grew up in the ocean, and that's the one thing I don't eat is seafood. Cannot stand seafood.
Oh, wow.
I
I can live on that.
I will. You're right.
There's something wrong with that.
It is.
Shark tastes like chicken.
No, it don't.
Yes, it does. If you make it right, it does.
Well, the one that I had must have been the rear end of the shark, because it sure did not taste like chicken.
Chicken gets blamed for tasting like a lot of things, yeah. I mess it off sometimes with scallops.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah, I'll eat shrimp
It's a real mild
if
taste.
it's fried, and I'll eat clams if they're fried. But that's it, that's the extent of my.
By the way, there's an art to getting a decent clam fry.
Yeah.
That's one thing I won't eat are clams or oysters or mussels, anything that comes out of that.
Oh,
You gotta be.
See, I won't eat oysters. I won't eat oysters.
Oh, so you'd never be able to have what I had when I was in the Philippines.
What's that?
They call it balut.
Oh, no.
It's a duck egg.
Yeah, I know what it is.
Before it hatches.
I know what it is. No.
Chase it with a beer, you're good. But it's all slimy, so it's no big deal.
Chasing something.
You gotta chase it with something. Well, see,
What number beer was it you had before that?
What? No, it was just
Was
one.
that
I used to eat oysters when I was about,
No.
when I was about 16, I used to eat oysters. My granddad, we would steam oysters on his big grate, and I would eat them and then chase them. I was 16, and I'd eat them and chase them with a beer.
They also had,
Everybody watching this live right now.
I had steak soup. What?
People are crazy. Well, the ones on YouTube can't hear us, but the ones on her can.
You got shark fin soup or steak soup?
That's right, that would be entertainment,
That's not true.
Nothing wrong with that.
On YouTube.
You gotta find some
Only if
fun
it
and
goes,
something
only if
like
you're
that,
talking
right?
about those mics.
Well, I've watched this on YouTube and they've been executive session, and you can get a conversation with
This
me.
is chewing up.
Yeah, executive session.
You can hear what's said.
If you get loud enough, where you can. I'm saying, if you get loud enough where it comes over that, then yes, you can. But usually, if it's not spoken right into that, it doesn't transfer into the computer.
Look, I'm getting blown up now, quit talking, I'm done.
It'll be on 11 o'clock news. Nobody be watching it
I can't
anyway.
wait to see the newspaper's article tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
In the Vienna news.
Vienna news.
Vienna City Council takes a turn. What's that dude that cooks on WTV?
No, for better.
Chef,
Nancy.
Nancy, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Chef Yancy.
I'll show you how to do. Hey, duck egg.
said, let's go, so we went and they got the soft shell, tacos or burritos or whatever you wanna call it. And then they had, crickets, grasshoppers, all kind of stuff, and chili and all these seasonings and stuff. And they put it out on the table and they said, you gonna do this? I said, sure, no problem. I didn't have one, I had 4. That was good. Based it with chili and, it's good, it's no big deal. You just gotta get past the, hey, this, crunching, that's a leg or something.
Yes, crunching the legs would be the, what was that again?
They had grasshoppers, crickets.
Oh.
And, you had worms. You had hot chili pepper for the taste and the sauce, and then a bunch of other seasoning, guacamole, onions. Mix it all together, you never know.
Yeah. We'd know.
Hey, well, I'll tell you one thing, they said, well, you're one tough gringo, we didn't think you'd do it. I said, that's more. He was one of my groomsmen at my wedding, he still watches the story, he still remembers.
I turned it down to 68.
Oh my God, it's hot in here.
Yeah.
It's hot.
The
It's
what?
on heat. That might be why. Get your shut off. Gee, yeah, it sounds 78.
Oh, that AC, you don't want one unit, you want something zone. It's like in my house, you had one unit, you run it to death and have to be fixed. I have one unit that does the main floor in the basement, and I got a second unit that's upstairs.
Me too.
Depending on
more-
it. There's
more
some
efficient.
houses
It's
that
more
have
efficient.
2,
It's
and
more
that's
efficient.
something they could think about, but the outside unit with the heating, air conditioning, if they, you put 2 units.
No, I have 2 units outside.
Yeah.
They're
That's what I
outside.
think that they should at least
But
consider.
it's zoned, and then you got different times you can program, and it goes up and down and it does whatever, but it's more effective, because if you're not home in the wintertime or in the summertime, why pick this up?
It might be more cost effective, doing it that way, but then it's not to check into it.
We don't control.
Your
the school,
external
we don't
units, you
control,
still
control
gotta, you
the
still have
general.
to run them through an
Not from
internal
wood.
furnace or
It's
something,
controlled from
so
wood.
there still has to be an
The
internal
new system
unit
they put in the schools, is controlled from rule. You get 2 degrees up, 2 degrees down, to control. But it doesn't work. And it doesn't kick on until 7 AM. So when you start getting there 7:30, this building's still cold because it's a brick building. It's 11 noon before you actually start feeling heat. And then the same thing there, like my office is so hot,
So why don't they start that like at 5 or 4? I mean, it's like,
energy efficient. So they replace windows, right? For half the school, but not the other half. Energy efficient. That's what kind of schools for you, they have to do everything. We got enough money to do half the school.
well, it must have been the same people doing that as the football stadium at DHS.
Right, listen, so.
That's like I was laughing,
if we
I went, you talk to the school board, it's like, hey, when you build a house, do you build a house with 3 walls and half a roof?
You wanna know what the holdup is on that? The stadium thing. If they would allow it to tear down that side, they would have new bleachers, and
I don't know, I don't want bleachers there. I was proposing to take that part of the stadium out, gut it,
have you ever
and
been?
put in a swimming complex for that side. Instead of having, stadium seating,
Yeah.
got stadium seating here,
Have-
put in an indoor swimming complex.
They just need
Well,
to
that
put,
really
they
aggravates
just need to put
football.
aluminum bleachers on. They have a nice rendition.
Put that in paper.
Swimming pool complex idea?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh no, we got a spot.
You know what you need to
Put that in,
what you need to do, you need to get.
News at 11.
That'll be replaced by the,
Okay, what?
And then our rec center was gonna go pool, so we use all year long.
Well, that's what I asked when I was talking at one
Yeah,
time.
'cause this is always.
Is to have it down around at the, where they meant to put something in where you have an indoor complex. Well, you put it up on the lake like you do at the beach. But,
I
they have,
just build one big rec center, put it into a pool,
yeah,
and you use all
you
year long.
put Miley, yeah, you have, well, that's what they have at Miley, we're worried about. The
So we built the
swimming
Wheeling,
complex. What?
the Highlands,
Yeah.
and their new facility.
Yeah.
We need something like that. But we.
So if you go through, it's like, with Brook High School. Brook High School's got a pool that the community can use, the hospital uses, and it's planned, and it's cool, it's year round.
Kim and Clark talked about doing that, the old, Elder Beerman,
Yeah.
the wall. They were gonna do, they were gonna take out the second level and everything, they're gonna spend almost 12 million to remodel, well, it fell through.
What I talked about on a couple council meetings ago, and even last year and prior, before all this stuff happened, you know, you got the Boys and Girls Club that's falling apart, you got the Y that's falling apart, Marietta, you know, where they practice, you know, it's closed, they're busing people over here. Why don't they put in a complex, and it's not your complex, it's our complex, every school or whatever has a section of a wall.
Should be cheap.
And they're-
That's what the Erickson Center was supposed to be, was a multi-purpose, multi-use.
It's not.
It's not. Because
It's because everybody wants this.
Or whoever puts in this wants to say so.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that'd be ideal,
Yeah.
because now Bridgeport,
It's great.
Bridgeport's putting in a mini Milan Farm
So how
Center.
is Bridgeport funded?
What?
How is Bridgeport funded?
The city of Bridgeport. Yeah.
What's our home run?
Yeah. But that's what they're doing, and if you think about it, it's like when you travel, you know, it's, whether it's competitive swimming or the summer, the fall, the winter,
It's not even
there's
just,
always
it's not even just
a
swimming.
number of people, no, but
Think
the
about
number
all
of
the,
people.
think about the elite brings in weekly.
Oh, yeah.
Or on weekends on these tournaments.
Oh, yeah, whether it's, we're always,
Listen, I talk to these kids every day. I know these kids want that, but never do. But
so that's like when they were talking about putting in the pool, we were fixing modifying Jackson, all, put a slide right here and stuff, I said, no, if you wanna attract people to have events here on the weekends, in the summertime, you gotta talk to Emily, you gotta talk to Diane.
You missed it.
Yeah, they approved it.
Oh, I know, what they were doing though, they were gonna make it. a
Whatever it was is
full-
on there. I don't know what's on the agenda for it.
we could go with you, Drexel.
They approved whatever.
Oh, there was some gym
Oh, you're
equipment.
right.
Right, there was a gym equipment.
We have one of those, we have one of those.
Yeah, there was stuff that was, there was stuff that we were paying part of, as
They
far
got
as
two
the
basketball
foundation
gyms
paying part
inside,
of
you
the
got a
parts.
pool.
But I
You
don't
know
know
where,
the
you know
overall.
where the rec center is, there's about Ball Field now, it's
Hang
right
on
here on
now.
the old rec center.
Yeah.
I was actually out in the other room.
Both of
and they
those,
were
yeah,
doing all
both of
that.
those
Put it,
early items got
put
approved.
85,000 square foot facility right there.
Playground plan got
Wrapped it
approved,
in
and the
there.
other thing got approved.
We thought it was gonna be done, and.
Sleeping time.
Captain Rocks.
In the Houston, that was your other ball.
Captain Rocks.
Yeah, Captain Croc.
They have some in their rec building, don't they, up there?
Oh, it's a net, it just drops down.
There's batting cages, the go-karts, and was there putt-putt?
They had, they had golf carts,
And
they
they
had
had
batting
video games,
cages, yeah, they
video
had over
games.
here.
I love that, that was great.
It was cool.
He sold it to them and retired good for it. Can't remember his name. He got it.
Oh, I'm sure, oh, I'm sure.
Because Kelly Martin.
You go to the beach.
Yeah, it was County Market is where, Panera is right now, that's where the first county market was.
This is where Middle Ohio Valley County Pool.
Yeah.
And then it moved.
Kelly Martin bought that property from Captain Rocks.
Right.
And built the new
Right,
school.
County
And
Market
it
was
was
back there, and then
Kroger.
the Mid Ohio Valley moved in there.
Yeah, and then Kroger, it was
Right.
Kelly Martin and Kroger.
Yeah.
Because Kroger was in where Home Depot was when that was the hills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need a batting cage around here somewhere, because there's there's nowhere to take kids to.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, there's
I
not.
mean, there's nowhere to take kids to,
And I think, you know.
I mean, when I lived in Omaha, there was like 6 different places that you could go to
People do it.
batting cages.
Yeah, and it does good.
Which one?
And, yeah. If you do a putt and actually maintain it, make it fun. I take my kids every weekend. It's something to do. In a community like this.
And you find out when it's hot summertime during the day, a lot of people don't, once it gets around 6:30, 7 o'clock,
kids got older.
When I lived in South Carolina, I'd shoot probably 2 deer a year. Ew, I'm not eating that, that's what my
Hey,
family did.
but you know what the best part was? The kids, when they were 12 and 7, this is years ago, my wife made steaks. And wow, these are pretty good. They marinated and they ate, and then my daughter, stepdaughter, and stepson had another one. They said, where did you get this, Kroger's or Foodland or whatever? And my wife says, I'll tell you here in a little bit. So they ate, and my daughter's just like, hey, where'd you get it? She says, Ted Michelle. Hey, you're kidding. And then Hannah said, pass me another slice of Bambi. And now, and she's a nurse, and she hunts, and she goes out and shoots them and guts them. There it is, it works, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Pass me another
Oh,
slice
I
of
love
Bambi.
venison.
That was pretty good.
I haven't had venison in a long time. We have a plug out, she's got a.
I like it when I first make it, but I don't like it after it warms up.
No, you gotta make it right. You gotta let it season for a while, marinate or whatever. And it also tastes good for the crock pot. Throw a bunch of stuff in. Do that.
That's even
Do
my
that.
favorite is venison. I know a lot of guys.
Yeah, that's what she would do.
Wow.
She would make venison patties and, oh
That
my
takes time.
gosh, the way she seasons it.
Bread up.
The best. Oh yeah, she fried it. I don't know if she breaded it, but she fried it. They were just so
The best
good.
ones I've gotten to eat were like when I was young.
Yeah, I haven't had really good venison.
Well
in a
stocked.
while. My sister-in-law is gonna make some venison chili.
Yeah.
We're having that again.
And you,
Make some.
butcher's one, you used it all, you know, I mean, cook the ribs and pressure cook, it just tastes like meat. It's so good.
There used to be where most of Galvez is now, there was a place called Stony,
Somebody told me bigger.
Stony something, and it was like a, it
Strong.
was a nice restaurant, an American restaurant, but they had wild game.
Tastes like meat.
They used to have a restaurant there. You know that?
It was before Los Agaves,
It's
so it
called
was
Michelle's. Right Piper and them.
Yeah,
Really?
I think it was
Yeah.
Stoney's after Michelle's, or maybe Michelle's
Yeah,
after Stoney's, but Stoney's actually moved, I think they just,
Move up the word.
well, but now it's that,
Coffee shop.
yeah, the gambling place, but Stony Creek or Stone Creek was this, it was, you know, like a nice.
The stone.
Study, I missed that.
Remember, and they had wild, like, you could get
Good
boar
food.
and bear, and they
Yeah.
would have wild, they would have wild game on occasion.
And they had elk.
Elk,
Yeah.
yep.
There's a place, there's a
It was
place
good.
up in, Robinson Township, right in that area up there by, where Ditka's and stuff is.
Yeah.
What's called,
Yeah.
Iowa, and they have, wild game.
There's, see, that's one of the things about Parkersburg. I was born and raised here, and I left in '98, lived in California for about 18 years, moved back in 2016 after my mom passed away.
I'm
And
surprised you came back. They said once you go there, you never come back.
that's not true, everybody comes back. I graduated with Mike Elam, good grief. No, we did, we were from the same class. So, everything's changed, like, there's no good home, there's no good, like, you know, Sebastian's, of course, they were gone before I left.
That was pretty good
Gone
food,
before I
yeah.
left.
That was pretty good.
Sebastian's, I missed
You know,
that.
point of
That was
view.
good food.
Somewhere to go for
Point of
something
view was great.
special.
If you remember Livingston's, where the Buffalo Wild Wings is, they used to be called Livingston's, then it was House of Hunan.
Yeah, I remember
The
that.
House of Hunan, that was, of course, Grace and Louis had that, so you could always go to Louis.
The Blenner has it just, doesn't quite do it.
Point of view, when they had their, you go up there on, I think it was Friday night or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Friday.
Yep,
And
yep.
once they put in that corridor D or whatever, it just annihilated
Yeah.
everything up there.
You remember the settings on the wall?
You know, I barely remember, I mean, I am that old, I remember saying something.
Settings on the wall.
I moved here in
87. Yeah. I'm
It is
I'll
like
get you
Sebastian's.
What was that restaurant on the, Stone Farm?
You're about 9 years older.
Yeah, it was the tea room. Well, then there was also the Yum Yum Tree in the Dills building, remember the Yum Yum Tree?
Yeah.
It was downstairs, and then they had a Yum Yum Tree in Marietta out in Newport Pike.
Maryland Pizza was actually a sit-down restaurant
Yes.
mall.
Up by Penny's on the, like if you're going towards Penny's where the aviary was on the left.
Caesars or something, wasn't there, they closed? on the-
No, there was,
Penny's. No, it was by Sears.
Pizza Inn. It was Pizza Inn and then it was Giorgio's.
There was something on the left-hand side, when you walked out of Sears, it was on the left-hand
Yeah,
side.
it was.
Oh,
that
well,
was,
your doghouse actually started up there. That's where your doghouse started, was up by Sears.
No, there was a, where was the pizza?
Yeah, there was, Well, Pizza
There was a
Inn.
pizza place up, I remember that. It was
George's is
like
where
for
Party City is now.
Yes, that was Giorgio's.
Yeah.
But it was like the Pizza Inn, I think, before that.
Well, Pizza Place actually had
Yeah.
a sit-down restaurant. Like,
Yeah. On the other end.
Just a nice.
You got the entrance B.
Yeah.
celebration.
Well, it was up by, like, if you were walking towards JCPenney's, you know where the aviary was?
Yeah.
On the, like, where there's like the shoe world expanded to where it used to be.
Was it there or
Yeah.
where you came in entrance
No,
B right down the
no,
left?
it was, trust me, it was right up there next to Penny's.
I knew it was over on that side.
Spent a lot of time as a kid in the mall.
I remember we used to go there, now we go to Pet Land.
Yeah, Petland. Now that was down across from, I think, entrance B or whatever. Well, I remember when we only had, other than the Burwell and the drive-ins, we had the two movie theaters, and they're where Belk is now.
Town
Like,
Square.
that was the main, no,
You have to have.
that was after.
I miss that place.
We had General Cinemas 1 and 2, and they were right in the, there was the grand entrance to the mall, right next to the, I believe, right next to the cinemas was the Bratwurst. Remember sit-down Bratwurst?
Yeah.
He just said, let me know how it goes, and I said, well, there you go.
Town Square, that's.
Yeah, my first job ever was I was a movie director, and I can tell you what movies were playing. Back to the Future, Goonies, Rambo, First Blood Part 2.
Can you picture coming in the drive-through and showing the classic, or not drive-through, driving in and showing the classics?
Oh, that'd be great.
I used to go to the drive-through, we used to sneak people in the trunk.
So the drive-through,
So they pulled up the screen and it was empty, so that explains that.
You what?
He pulled up the stream and it was empty, and he said, that explains that. No, the guy that was supposed to be helping Chris out today had a family emergency, and I'm here at his place, and he said he pulled up the screen to see what was going on, and he said it was empty.
You know Garrett.
Garrett, Bradland.
You had the whole stairs and
He was sitting saying,
close to it, but.
And I grew up on the court.
There's a Tamalides we went to up there.
The only thing is, I wish there were more
What's the one that
pictures
they-
of things that didn't used to be around. I would like, the same pictures that I see on the wall are always the same pictures I see on the wall. I wish there was a lot
Chicago, huh?
Austin was developed in the last chapter of
I don't know that it's big on
I've
this
been
one.
Well, to be honest, we actually need somebody, Garrett's focus
I have
has
not been,
been on
farthest west I've been
getting back
for a little
on
bit.
the side of the business.
Oh, the yellow, LED poles for Yellowstone, and on there and going to Montana. Cannot wait, well, for 2 weeks.
I'm really a sales guy. I'm, you know, I've got a lot of CDs, I've got a lot of TV
I
background.
don't think I have early in design. Hey Russ, you got me a plate of whatever you guys have back there?
Was dinner good?
We're back.
Great. Chicken and rice.
You guys got food catered, we know.
It was just an Easter basket that was left over.
There is some candy on the table. Let me rephrase that. There was some candy.
Jim's looking a little heavy now.
No.
With the mask, you don't have.
Plenty of it.
Let the record reflect that we came out of executive session at 7:30, and no decisions were made. It was information only. The item that we're discussing this evening is the code enforcement and building inspection employment update. In the Dropbox and in your mailboxes, I believe, I gave you a complete breakdown of the employee rosters of what their job descriptions are and all of the different jobs that each one of these employees does on an average day. So I'd like you to please take a look at those. Hopefully when you look at them, you will see the varied jobs that are in there that they do perform. And obviously, if you have any questions about any of those jobs, those fellows are more than willing to explain to you what these various job titles are. The one other item that was brought up at the last council meeting was a discrepancy in the budget, something along the lines of approximately $6,500. And the short budget answer for that is, during this past year, we had 2 employees sell back some of their vacation and sick time, and because that was not an anticipated item, that shortfall will be adjusted in the ending balance, and everything appears to be fine, and that number will decrease at the end of the year. So, having said that, is there any discussion from anyone that I can answer a question about? All right, if you feel free to ask any of the fellows, I'm sure that they will be glad to take you out and explain whatever their jobs are and the different things that they do. Moving on this evening, the next item is the discussion on the security cameras. Chris, I know you're here. If you'd like to, please come up to the podium and let's get an overview or whatever.
All right. I have with me tonight Brent. Brent is from BizTech. He's here to answer any questions that you have on the Verkada solution. But I want to kind of give a lay of the land. I sent out an email to all of you guys explaining exactly what was going on, but let me break down that email just a little bit more to you. On January 1st, Ubiquity basically pulled the plug on their previous NVR solution, their previous web solution that they had. So their video.unify.com is no more. It does not exist. So what that did is that left us with local access to our NVRs only. Since, I want to say, the beginning of March, we started losing local access as well because Ubiquity, they would not allow the upgraded Java versions to work on their existing NVRs that we had. Now, I can bring local access back up, but it's not something that I'm willing to do because that will introduce a security risk that I am not willing to take. One of the most hacked online platforms is Java, and the reason why it's updated so much is because it gets hacked so much. So that's where we stand on our current cameras. The cameras are up. The G3s that we have are up in place. As far as I know, they are still recording to the NVRs. I can't tell because I can't get into them to see without downgrading that Java version. I did downgrade it long enough to pull the cameras up to find out where all the locations are, and then reapplied the upgrade so it breaks it again. So I do have a list of where all of them are. I'm going to put them on a map and send that out to you guys once I get it completely drawn. I was going to do, I was hoping that we had blueprints for all of our buildings so I could show it there, but we don't, so I'm building them myself in Visio. So once I get that done, you guys will have a list of where all of our cameras are. That being said, another topic that was brought up by Kim was the fact that Verkada got hacked. When was that? That was about 6 weeks ago. About 6 weeks ago. In that hack, I'd say probably, what was it, 95 customers of theirs had some videos that were viewed. No passwords were gotten. No password hashes were gotten. No personal information was received. None of that through that hack. However, in December of last year, Ubiquiti was hacked. And in January 11th, Ubiquiti came forth and spoke of this hack, and they claimed that this hack was on a third party. It was because of a third party and not because of them. They actually had an employee who was part of their security team who came forward after this hack and explained that this was not part of the third party, which was Amazon Workspace. It was not part of the third party that caused this, and it was an internal employee who used to be there whose information got out, and the hackers got admin access into their entire database. They got customer home addresses, they got customer informations, they got payment information, they got all kinds of stuff. So was it bad? Was it mitigated? Yes, it was. But the fact that they came forth and they weren't upfront and lied about it is not really somebody that I want to move forward with and use their equipment anymore. Also, on that, our G3s that we have now, they are end of sale. You can't get them. They've upgraded to a newer version. So I don't know how long those G3s are going to be before they go into life, and then we're right back in the same boat. So it is my recommendation. I came up with 3 different recommendations that was in this proposal here. One was if we decided to continue with the Ubiquiti NVRs, which I don't agree with. It was going to cost us roughly $15,000 capital, and then roughly $2,700 a month for cloud storage. If we don't decide to do the cloud storage, then that means that I'm going to have to purchase a network area storage or a SAN. Network area storage would be the least expensive, starting at around $60,000 for that. A SAN, you're looking upwards of $500,000 to $1 million.
What is the SAN?
Storage area network. It's just a larger storage array. Excuse me. The second, I'm going to skip over the Verkada and go to the third solution. The third solution was another on-premise solution. It was an access camera solution. This system here totaled out to about $151,000. And I believe their warranty on that, right here, the cameras only had a 5-year warranty. By the way, Ubiquiti only has a 3-year. With the right here, so with a Dell hybrid storage array for that, this is where I'm getting that price of starting at $60,000 for a 30-day retention would be that network area storage. Basically what it is it's an array of disks that allows us to store the information there. Also on these first 2 solutions, neither one of them have onboard storage on the cameras. So if we lose network connectivity, we have no video. However, with the Verkada, if we lose network connectivity, the cameras still record. and it is stored locally on the camera itself. The camera has enough storage to store 30 days of camera footage without internet connectivity. We lose power. Well, I mean, we lose power. We don't have anything. So, but with the Verkatas, which is my recommendation and has been my recommendation for the past 9 months, that we go with the Verkatas and a 5-year license agreement, which is the cheapest way to buy their licensing, is buy it 5 years at a time. That comes to a total of $131,841.28 if we buy it using capital, or where's it at? Or we can finance it for $28,869.68 a year for 5 years, and then payoff would be $1 for the cameras at the end of 5 years. And then we would just continue to pay our licensing every 5 years after that. Verkada offers a 10-year warranty on these cameras. I've said that before. I'll continue to say it. You don't see that in equipment, especially for stuff like this. You just don't see that. Their service is great to work with, and the few cameras that we have had. When I initially brought this 9 months ago and we purchased the 7 that we have, I said that this day would be coming, and that this was the route that I was looking to go with this. Let's see, what else was I going to say? Also, with their level of their serviceability, they offer 5 nines of availability, and that's where basically they're offering that 99.999% of the time their cameras are up. The only way that they're not recording is if they don't have power. So if we lose power, they'll quit recording. But that's any camera. So if we lose internet, they're still going to record. If Access loses internet, they're not recording. If Ubiquity loses internet, they're not recording. So that's where I stand on it.
So if I understood you right, Chris, you did get the system to activate back up, and you now have a list of where all the cameras are.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I want the list. I want to see where these cameras are positioned about the city, and so whatever it takes for you to get the list, I want the list. I'm sure that Kim wants to. I think everybody wants to see the list, okay? Because we want to see where these cameras are clustered for the coverage area, okay?
Okay. Well, like I said, I was trying to put it on a map for you guys, so I can have it, showing where it's at on each one. But if you want just the list of what the names of them are, and that's not going to tell you where they're at, because the way that Kyle and
I want physical location. I want
okay,
to know.
and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to put together a map to do that. The way that it was named before, they named it, like for the parks, for instance, they named it PG1 or PG1 COM 1, and that's not going to tell you where they're at. Without literally knowing where it's at and what it is, I know where it's at. It's the parks. It's the parks garage, and it's the community building, and it's camera 1, which happened to be the indoor one looking at the front door. But by you guys just giving you a list of those names, you're not going to know where they're at.
Can you just write down? The physical description.
That's what I'm
so
trying.
You're not trying to draw a map. Are you trying to draw a map, or are you trying to write down corner of the fire department, corner of the police department?
Well, I was trying to draw a map of each building so I can put where they are and get them to you. I'm about halfway done. So, if you want me to stop doing that, I will, and I'll just write down exactly where each one of them are and tell you, this is right here, this one's here, this one's here. But I'll
ask you this: so for example, if we're monitoring a camera and we don't exactly recognize what that camera's looking at, which is possible in a park, one tree looks like another tree, how do we identify if somebody's saying, wow, there's something going on here, but I can't really make out just where that camera is. How do we know that?
I don't understand your question.
Well, like I said, if you got PG1,
Mhm.
we don't have a legend,
Mhm.
or a specific location of that camera, and something's displayed on that camera that gets somebody's attention, and we can't really figure out where it is.
That's what I didn't like about the naming convention that was used
So,
before.
I mean, I think regardless of what camera system we eventually evolve to or migrate to, or
Oh, the naming convention will be updated.
well, right. So that's my point. Is that you know and having these on a grid, and I don't know like what Adam needs to be able to say. I need to know where that is right now.
Mhm.
Okay. I think that's essential.
Well, and being that he's here, he can, and he can attest to this. We just we had a vandalism in the park. Was it 2 days ago? A young man broke a I don't know what it was. It was an outlet that was on a power brick there, and I have a Verkada camera sitting up there, and a lady called in while this kid was doing it, called into the front office there, and I pulled the camera up and I watched the kid do it. I stored that video and gave it to the police, and now they have that evidence. And this isn't the first time that the Verkada system has caught this, where, I've had other times the issue that happened with the fire department. This is back before Ubiquity shut down their services. I couldn't gain access to the Ubiquity stuff outside of our local network to help the police, but I had access through the one Verkada camera that I had on the back door to watch this guy come out. So, I mean, I can go over and over on the value of this, and I mean, for $131,000 for 10 years worth of coverage, I think it's a no-brainer. But, and I mean, go ahead.
I just want to point out, and I mean, we have seen, and we still have it here, a lot of correspondence and a lot of information about the Verkada system, and you've made it extremely clear that that's your preference of the system, but it's not that easy. I mean, there's no guarantees based on your recommendation or your personal preference that the Verkada is what we're going to end up with. So, I mean, there's a process. It sounds great. But, I don't want everybody to get hung up on, well, we're going to have this Verkada system. It's a great system. It's what Chris recommends, which I'm sure you've done your homework, and this is not personal. I mean, it's not in any way. I don't know IT. I know a little bit about cameras to be dangerous. I worked with some. But, it's just Verkada, and we don't know that that's what it's going to be. I mean, I'm sure that would make you happy. But, I just want to throw that out because, it very well could be. And if that's the best system at the best price and the specs are met and, great, but there's nothing saying that's what it's going to be.
I think my follow-up on this too, in all the other systems that we have often, even when we're talking about the furnace and the senior center, we have a system of rotation. And you talk about the Verkadas being, there to capture that, but my understanding is these unified cameras have been down for some time with no remediation. And I have some understanding, and I'm going to apologize because I've had information in response to your letter. I've not had an opportunity because it's not just reading. You have to kind of comprehend what does it mean if you're using, this type of storage or cloud, and I want to absorb that. But, I'm not persuaded that we need to do a wholesale conversion, that we have a lot of equipment that's still functional, still can be updated at a reasonable cost, maintain storage that's reasonable for the location that's being surveyed. And so, in terms of this discussion, I haven't done the homework to understand what I want to understand, although I've started it, and I do have, like I said, I have a pretty good amount of material, and, looking over the material you sent, and what we can do with, and again, generally, the unified system, they changed their NVR, okay, but it still has capability with the 3s that we have, and we have 119
Well,
of
we
these,
had
whatever
we
it
had
is, over
119.
100 cameras that still can serve a functional purpose depending on where we need them, and so, and then, and plus stuff, you talk about Unify getting hacked, and Ricotta got hacked. Well, so did the gas supply. I mean, everybody's vulnerable to some extent, and that's a part of system administration, whoever's controlling that. I mean, obviously, if Unify's main system gets hacked, that everybody's got those vulnerabilities. So that's where I'm coming from is, I don't understand everything I'm trying to understand about what's going on here yet, but I'm certainly not persuaded that we don't have the opportunity to move forward in a more of a rotation type like we do with so many other things. Still rely on what we've invested in and get our investment back. But so at this point, I'm not decided. I mean, I don't understand enough to say this is, but that's my gut, is that we've got an investment to protect. It's only been since, 3 or 4 or 5 years the cameras are still, so anyway, that's about it. That's what I got to say.
Okay, so to that point, because I agree, we have an investment, we want to try to protect that investment, but from what I understand you're saying, because of the vulnerability of Java, or JavaScript, whatever.
I want to make a clarification here. If you're on Unify Protect, we're not talking about, that's if you're trying to stay with the old system, right?
No, they still use Java today, even in their Unify Protect.
You're saying that you can't get with the current Unify Protect.
No, I'm not saying that.
Right.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they still use Java today, even in their current NVRs that they use. Their current NVR still uses Java. Java's used everywhere, but it's an updated version, and it's one that they support. And so if we updated to the newer version of the Unify Protect stuff, it'll be secure to the extent of what, until another catastrophic attack happens, which we can't stop that. I mean,
So when you say Unify Protect, are you talking about the Ubiquity system?
I'm talking about the Ubiquity system, yes.
Okay.
See, Kim, what they did, they used to use, like we had these Linux boxes that Adam built, and they were the Unify little servers, okay? And they captured the data and all that. Well then, just like everybody does, it was obsolesced, and they came out with this new NVR, which is $300. And I'm not trying to oversimplify this because I want to benchmark this by saying I don't have this my head wrapped around all this. But the security thing that you're talking about with Java is not, that Java is secure supported. When all of a sudden we don't support Windows 7 anymore, we're not doing any more security upgrades and blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing. And so if we can re-enable these Unify cameras with this updated and look at what those options, not just for the NVRs, also for the storage solutions, I'm not, some of the storage options you're talking about, I'm having some problems with as to how that works, because I'm not sure. I think it's kind of, some of it, what I'm getting is a little bit apples and oranges. So I'm just not ready to say.
Right.
Except that I'm committed to saying, before we abandon what we've already invested in, we need to have a better understanding, or I need to have a better understanding of what I have right now, and it's my fault that I don't. I meant to be prepared.
And I understand that, and my comeback to that is, yeah, they made an investment of, I think it was $27,000 6 years ago on a consumer grade equipment. We got 6 years of quality use out of it. My question is, how often do you update your cell phone? Is your cell phone 6 years old?
Half my guys still got flip phones.
I'm just saying, it's equipment goes out. These cameras that we have, they went end of sale on January 1st. When the Ubiquity stuff went end of life, these cameras went end of sale. The current ones that we have, the ones that they're going to now is, I think is a G3 Pro or the G4 Pro. I think they do a G3 Pro, and then they also have a G4. So the G3s that we have are at some point in time within the next 12 months are going to go end of life, which means they're not going to get updates anymore, which means they're going to start crashing, and then we're going to be right back.
What updates do you get to the
The camera get they get firmware updates.
And they're-
Yeah.
It's just like, all right, well, those are all the questions I had tonight, because, like I said,
Yeah.
that's as much as I understand right now. I know I'm not settled with the issue, and I think I'm kind of getting that from other people too,
So I do have a question if you're finished.
Oh, yes.
So the Verkada cameras, they are, they go to the cloud only. They have no storage. You know, I mean, it's not a hybrid system. You can't go to an NVR.
Nope.
It's okay. So that's kind of proprietary, right? I mean,
Well, you can go directly to the camera itself and pull the information from the camera. So
Right.
the camera itself is its own NVR.
okay. So here's my question. But does this particular product exist that is a hybrid where you can use it either way? You can use it for cloud storage or NVR and NVR.
I'm gonna have to refer to Brent on that.
Well, basically what you would do is if you have the system in place and you wanted to be able to offload it, is that what you're asking? If you wanted to offload information to a separate, yes, you can. Once you download it from the cloud, then you can you can store it wherever you want to store it. So the 30 days of storage only lasts on the camera, and then anything that you want to save goes to the cloud, and your cloud storage is unlimited. You basically have unlimited storage in the cloud once you save that information there. And then you're free to download that to any other storage
Okay.
on premise or off premise that you want.
The unlimited storage is for what, 30 days?
No, the 30 day storage is on the cameras only. But
Yeah,
once you upload the information, once you capture the information you want on the camera and upload it to the cloud, that's unlimited storage that you have in the cloud.
So
We had didn't they say something about it? And so you just, if you have 150 Verkadas and whatever, and it's unlimited for the lifetime that camera records?
Well, you're not going to store 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I mean, you're not going to record and keep that information. You're only going to keep what's relevant to you in terms of investigations or whatever. So the 30 days, once it expires, it expires. So let's say you have a camera that is in the park that captures nothing for 30 days. Well, that's obviously going to disappear. But let's say this incident with the young man who was, vandalizing something. That information would get obviously uploaded, saved in the cloud, and then downloaded for other usage.
Well, let me ask you this. If, say, for example, it's just simple, I mean, because the camera's not distinction whether what it's recording is a crime or somebody.
Sure, no,
walking
it's,
dog,
yeah, it's
right?
just, it's, yeah.
And so if you don't flag and download that and 30 days elapses, is that still going to be stored in the cloud?
No.
Everything? Right. that was my
But
question.
you also can do, I mean, we keep talking about
Right,
30
I get
days.
that, but
There's
the point
15 days,
was-
30 days, 60 days, 90 days. You can actually do a full year if you want. Obviously, the cost of the camera goes up, but 30 days is
Right, but it kind of sounded like you were saying that once this goes in the cloud, we have it forever, and that's
Who-
what I remembered from the initial presentation.
Okay.
Say so, real quick. So and to that point, let's say something happens up on the trail wherever we have a camera. We don't know something has happened. Maybe months before we find out, or something like that, or an investigation, whatever. So, I wouldn't want us to lose that, right? But if we don't think something happens, like Jim said, it's not like the camera's going, oh, crime. How do
We'll see. Okay, so that's
do they
where you
all
have to.
do they all have to be reviewed before you?
That's
That
where
was
you.
gonna
That's
be
where you have to
exactly my
scale.
question.
Okay, so that's
Exactly.
where you have to scale it. When I initially brought this in, okay, I brought it in for 90 days of storage, and it was 181,000, I believe, is what it was, and that was just with 1 year of licensing. So it'll be more if we do the 5-year licensing. But that was for 90 days of storage. That gives people 90 days to report the crime. If they don't report the crime, then we don't know that it happened. So, I mean, it's just like, I mean, if they don't report the crime, then the camera's not worth anything anyway.
Well, I have a question that's just from the lawyer part of it. Why doesn't council just at some point ask Mr. McGrew to draft a bid proposal that says we would like whatever our specs are? So 100 cameras that are Wi-Fi capable or hardwired, that are capable of 30 days cloud storage, with 256-bit encryption, and then just send that out for bid and see what the solicitations are, and then go from there.
That's the process I was talking about. there a
I've
minute
tried
ago,
to I've
Rex.
tried to go that route, and every time it's been shut down.
Okay, so, Chris, I don't think anybody here discounts the value of the cameras. Obviously, the damage that you saw the other day, the things that have happened around the city we're all concerned about those, okay? And we're also very aware of the hacking that's going on. You know, I think the oil storage facility that's got part of the nation crippled right now, you know, nothing is safe, okay? But we've hashed this thing out now for the last 3 months, all right? So I'd like you to make the list of the cameras a priority.
Okay.
Get it done. We want to know where the system's at now. We want to know what part of that system is salvageable, or if we have to rebuild it, if we can work off of it, all right?
I will have that to you by Friday of next week.
Well, we're putting you in a difficult position because we're not giving you any guidance to tell you what we want. All right? You can't build a system for us when we keep changing from Ford to Chevy to Dodge. All right? So get us a list. We'll see where we're at in the capability part of this, and then we may have to put together a subcommittee to work with you to say, all right, here's the direction we want to go. And as Mr. Skogstad said, we'll put some kind of spec together, we'll bid the thing out, see where the numbers come in at. All right? We need the system. You know, Melissa's point's well taken. You know, I'd love the thing to record forever, because you never know how far you're going to have to go back.
Yeah.
That's probably an
Well,
impractical.
And on that, I wanted to say one more thing on that. Even if we decided to go with the Ubiquity, update the Ubiquity stuff and bought the new NVRs, that's only 9 days of storage. So after 9 days, it overwrites. It's done. Unless we wanted to purchase extra storage, which would be another storage area network, or a network area storage, which would start at right around $60,000 to give us up to 30 days of storage. With the amount of cameras that we're going to put in there, we'd only get 9 days of storage with what they have on there.
All right, so get the list together, all right? Put the map, I don't care how you do it. You know, I know we talked about the map. I thought you were going to GIS it, but I know it's.
Well, I asked for that, and I got a map with an arrow that said here's this building, and that was all I
It's a lot more
got.
complicated than you think. I mean, I know you know the process, but at any rate, get it put together and let us look at it, and then we'll try to help you with the direction, all right?
Okay.
All right. Okay, that concludes our agenda this evening. We move on to council comments.
I have a comment. Where are we at with paving? You know, it's May. I thought maybe we'd be getting some bids through here or whatever, but
I sent everyone the map of it's about $1.2 million worth of paving projects.
okay, I didn't see it. So, or you emailed that?
Yes,
Is that the case?
I haven't seen it.
okay. I'll email it to you first thing tomorrow.
So we're
Okay.
anticipating these projects are going to start
Oh, it's
before.
ready to go to bid now. Waiting
Okay,
on, I didn't
perfect.
get a comment back, so obviously, no wonder.
Thank
Okay?
you. That was my question. Thank you.
Yeah, it'll be out to you tomorrow, all right? All right, no other comments? Next council meeting will be Thursday, May the 27th. Thanks, Mike, for bringing the kids in. It's always fun to have
Thank you.
you know, it's always great. So, at any rate, Dawson's, thank you. I think we're gonna relieve you from duty now unless you got kids. We can get them to come in. All right? Meeting adjourned. Are you coming tomorrow? Do you have any money? Do you have any money?